Hello, my friend. Welcome to Netcode-Hub channel. This is Frederick, your lesson facilitator. I believe you are doing well. I'm also good. Now, in this video, you're going to talk about how to call a method in a chat component. So, what are the objectives of this video? First one is you're going to look at how to use the ref attribute to invoke a method in a chat control or chat component. Second, how to do the same, how to invoke a method in a chat component using event callback. I'm going to talk about these two guys here, and they are very useful a lot in terms of invoking or calling method in a chat component. You know, when you have values that you want to pass to a chat component, you can use parameters, and that's very simple and easy way to do that. But what if in case you have a method that you want to call, it becomes a problem. That is why we have the event callback, and also we have the ref attribute. Let's have a look with each so you can understand how to do that. Now, either you create a Blazor server application or a Blazor WebAssembly application, any of them suit this. So I have a Blazor server project created. And don't worry, when I'm done with this too, I'm going to put this to GitHub. So you can even go there and I'll clone the source code and review. Okay, so let's start. But first of all, let's have a look with the ref attribute. So let's create a component for that. Go to the pages. And now where we have this, you can see we have default pages over there. I'm going to use this counter. Okay, so this is going to be the ref add item component. So we're going to add item, right? Now I decided to add the ref here to let you know that we are talking about using reference or using the attribute, right? Okay, now let's have this component set. And now in this component, let's clear this everything here. We don't need to specify the route because this is a chat component. It's going to be called in a parent component. Now there's just a simple code that we have here. You know, we are using just the container with the a row, and we have the column MD6. These are the bootstrap things. And now when you come here, you can see we have card. Now in the card, we are looping through. This is just a name. You know, the reason why I brought this to here is to skip this at. You know, this at here, it is a key in Blazor. So it's going to refer it as a variable. Meanwhile, it is not. You want to use the @ref attribute, right? So we have to pass in another @ symbol to escape that. All right, now you can see from here, we are looping through a name. The name definitely is a list. As soon as you see name.count, it means the name here is a list. And we are displaying the list in an ordered list form. Okay, so you see we have a parent ordered list. These are the child ordered list. And we loop through the names here and we set it. We loop through and now grab the list using this li within the list of the names here. Now, when you come down here, let me just remove this cascading things from it because we're not talking about that today. Now, let me just save this. I always want to save, close it, and I'll open it again to just get rid of that black and white. Okay, now you can see from here we have a list of names here. Now this is a chat component, so we have a list of name. Okay, now with the list of name, we have a method here. Now if I call or if I invoke this method, I need to add a parameter of string. Now if that string here it is not null or empty, then we want to add it to the list, right? So we add this to the list, and now we state or we call this state as change to refresh the page, so we can actually display them here. We can just add and now get the feedback instantaneously. Okay, so we have this. Now you see that the method here is being issued here. The method is defined within the chat component, right? And this is what we want to do. We want to pass in this variable from the parent component by using the ref attribute. Okay, so now we have this. Let's go to the home page. Now with the index page, we're going to make this as maybe ref home page. Okay, so we know that we're going to use this component inside this ref home page. All right, so with this page, let me just clear this. You can see we are calling this component, right? And now you can see we did not specify any parameter. If you check the this component, this chat component, you see we are not having parameter against any of this property here, right? and we're not having it against this method as well. What we are doing here is we're going to use this ref. And this is what I'm talking about, using this ref attribute. We give it any name at all that we want. It means that we are creating an instance of this component using this ref. So when you call this ref, it means you are calling indirectly, you are calling this ref add item component. Okay, and we have a container here with the same row as a bootstrap things, and we have just a text box, an input text box. We have a parameter here as string, and we bind it to this so we can actually type in something and now get it hold on here. You see that in? And also you can see we have this button as on click as handle add name. So as soon as I click on this, I'm going to add a name. I'm going to have access to this parameter. Now this variable that we have here, this is what we are doing. We have to call this ref here, that is a component here, and we specify the name. So the name, that is what we have referred over here. Okay, so we are creating an instance of this component. And now when you create an instance of this component, there's a button here, and this button needs to get a method that is handle add name. And now this is a method that we have. When I click on this, I want to any name or any text that can be found in the text box, I want to call the method within this chat component, and now passing that method or passing this parameter or the string name here. So we check if the name here it is not now empty, then we want to do this. So we call the instance of this component. Then within this instance, there's a method known as add name. Okay, then this add name needs a parameter, that is the name here, and we provide the name to this. All right, then we set this name to empty so that I can accept a new one. This is very simple thing that we are doing here. We are passing in this parameter here to the reference of this component. Now this component contains a method that we defined as public. If you make it private, it's not going to work. You're not going to find that within the instance. So you have to make it as public. Then we can now call that public method within the instance of that component that has been referred over here, and we can now invoke the method inside that. I believe this is clear. Let's run this and see what we are talking about. So first of all, we have the route twice. Now let me just clean one and let's do it again. Okay, so now let's add and see. We're going to add name, so something like, and so you can see it has been added here. So this component that you see, it is coming from a chat component, and this button here, it is from the parent component. And you can see that we can invoke the method in that parent component. So you can see this is working. Check it out. You can see it is working. So that's a way to call a method from the chat component using the ref attribute. Now let's have a look with the event callback method. So let's close this. And now let's create a component, and that is what we're going to be using. So here, I'm going to name this as event add component. Okay, so event add item component. What I'm referring to here, it is this component is going to be used by event callback, right? So let's have this. Now within this event callback, this is what we are doing. We can actually grab the same content from this component, that's a ref add item component, but here they look similar, but not all. Check it up here. You can see we have the same thing as well. Here, instead of looping through the list, no, we are not doing that. We have the text box in here rather. We have the button here rather, right? Then we have this method called. Now, when this method is called, we want to add this name to a list. Now, the list is going to be found in the parent component. So we have to now create an event callback. Now this event callback, whenever it is invoked, is going to return a string. And now that string is in connection with the type, the data type of this input text box. And that is a string here. So it means when you invoke this method, or when you call this method, we want to return this name string to the list or to the parent. So when you call this chart, when you click on the button in the chart component, it is going to send the data type to the parent. That is what it's doing. Now, when you have this parameter against it, it means that this method here needs to be provided. So it means it is going to come outside from the parent component into this chart component. And that's going to be the event collect. So if I click on this, this is going to be invoked. And as soon as it is invoked, it is returning. So it's like a vessel. It is returning. It is sending an item or data type or a variable to the parent component. And that's the reason why we're passing in the name here. So you can see we are invoking this. Then we pass in the name. It means when we call this method, return this. So we can create a variable to store this variable that is coming in as a parameter. All right, now let's have a look with the parent component. So this is what we're going to do. Let's create one component here. And that's going to be the parent component for this event callback. So we say event homepage. Now with the event homepage, we have a home as a route. And now you see we are looping to the list here. So we are displaying the list in the parent component. What the child component does is going to have a button. When we click on that button, it's going to return a string that is a name. And we add the name to the private list of names or list of string that we have here. So the first one, when you check the ref attribute, it has the list inside the chart component. By this time around here, it has the list in the parent component. Okay, so what we do here is we have to call this method, and that is the event callback method. So the method, we give it a name. And this name, as you can see, the IntelliSense, it needs a parameter known as string. The data type of that parameter is string, and it is the name coming out from this chart component. All right. So when you run this chart component only without handling this, you're going to see a button. So let's clear this off. Let's save this. And now let's run this. So before we do that, we go to the shared nav menu. Then let's have this as event callback. And now this is referring to home. And this for the home. So you have it already set. You can just remove this. And this is ref attribute. So let's run this and see. So without handling the event here, all right, you're going to see a text that's a box. That's a button. So when you check this, you see we have this button here. You're going to see a text box and a button. And now when we click on that button, this method is going to be invoked. And now when it is called, you want to create this vessel and now return the string that you want, or the data type, or the value that you want to return to the parent. We pass it in between. Now let's check it up. Okay, so there's a ref. Now when I click on the event, you can see we have the button here. But since I click on the button, nothing happened because we did not specify the event. Okay, so let's specify the event. All right, so now this is the name method we're going to call, and now this method here needs to accept a parameter as name. We check if it is not null, then we add it to the list. We call state as change, and as soon as we call state as change, this is going to refresh, going to loop through, and now add the current list item to the list or the display that we have here. This is very simple as well, isn't it? Now let's check it up again and see. So let's add name here, the same netcode. Now click on add to the list. You can see we have it set, right? And now when you click this reference to the same netcode, Click on this, and we see we still have it. So that is two ways to communicate or call or invoke method in a chat component. You've seen how to use the ref attribute. You've seen how to use the event callback. Now this event callback, it could be any. You see here we are passing in just data type, a single data value, and that is a string. It could be a model of object, right? It could be maybe user. It could be any. You can pass the one here, and you can receive it from the parent component. Now, when you go to the ref attribute 2, here we have everything set. All that we need here is to call this and specify the parameter. And this parameter could also be a model. It could be user data. It could be customer data. It could be any. What you should do here is when you go to the event or the ref attribute, that is a home page. So this is a ref home page. So instead of passing in the string parameter, you pass in an object parameter or a model parameter, and that's all. All right. Do you want us to have a look with an example? Yes, let's have a look here with an example and see what I'm trying to say. So quickly, let's create one class. And this class, we're going to name it as user. So this class is going to have username. So this class is going to have maybe ID. So this is ID, and you're going to have username. Okay, so let's have the string, and that is name. And maybe we can add age. Okay, so we have this model here. Now we want to add model item in this, isn't it? So instead of having this simple one, let's have it in an edit form. Okay, so with this, first of all, let's handle the ref attribute. So with the ref attribute or the ref component, we have this list here, and we want to pass in this user. So let me just let me comment this. Let me duplicate this and create one here. So that's going to be a list of user, and that is users. Okay, so add user. Let me just. Okay, let me comment this as well. So that is add user. And now instead of passing in this parameter string, I just pass in user, the model. And we can now check if this user is not null, or in case it is null, then return. So if user is null, then return. If not, then users dot add this user. So you can see it is the same thing that we are doing, right? So we're going to add that. And now when we come to this, let's comment this. So we make a duplicate first. Then let's comment this. So here we are saying that if users dot count is greater than 0, then we want to, let's say user, and this is user in users. So we're looping through them, and in here we can have name. So user dot name, you see. So user dot ID, we can have at user dot name. Then we can have at user dot age. You see? So this is what you are trying to do. Now we have this method. So let's go to the home page, and that's the ref home page. That is this. And now in here, instead of this string name, we're going to make a duplicate. Let's comment this. And now this is going to be user. And here it is user. Okay. So we set this to new user. So let's remove this. And now we have this method. So this method, we're going to say add handle add user. And here, instead of having all this, we're going to say if user is null, then return. If not, there's a method known as add user. So you see this method, pass in this user. Very simple. Then set this user equal to new. So it's equal to new user. You can see it is the same thing that we are doing here, right? Now let's see. Okay, so we have add user. Now let's have an edit form, right? So with this, we can have this edit form. So let's pass in the model of user. Then we have unvalid submit or unsubmit. So unsubmit, then we can call this method. You see? And this is what we have a button, the type here. So instead of this, we're going to have the type as submit. And now we have the name here. So let's grab this. Then we have the next one. So here it is an ID. So going to be input number or so. So input number. And now here it is user.id. Then we can now have access to the user.name. User.name. And now the same here, we're going to specify the age. So let's have age. Then last end, we close the edit form. Okay, so now we have this. Let's reload this and see what we have now. So rebuild this. All right, so you can see from here with the ref attribute, now we can pass in, let's say 12, the age 45, you can have something like netcode. And as soon as I click on add, you can see we have it set over here, right? So we can add a lot. Now you can see it is the same process that you must go through in order to add a model as well. And it's the same thing that you have to do to the event callback. Okay, so you can see from when we check this event homepage too, we are doing the same thing here. So here, with the method that we are calling or we are invoking here, it is returning that's an object of user model. So we receive it over here and now we can add it to this. So it is also very simple to use model. There's a ref attribute and there's an event callback. Now let's refresh this. So let's check the two out. There's a ref attribute. We've done this already. So that is a 1. 23. Then netcode. Add. You can see it has been added here. Now I'll check the event callback to. Let's add the same. And you can see it has also been added here. So that is it. Today we've seen how to add or how to call a method in a chat component using the ref attribute and also using the event callback function. That is it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to get this source code, I'll put it at the GitHub. Check the description and I'll put the link over there. Give me a thumbs up in case you understood this very well. And I'm going to catch you up in the next video.